New edition, new army, old hammer. New edition, I'm getting swept up in the hype. All the influences, they've worked on me, the advertisement, it's worked on me. I'm a sucker. You may as well write sucker across my head. I've fallen hook, line and sinker for it, just in the same way I did for 9th. I can't help myself. I'll be creating a Black Legion force, but with a little bit of a twist, because this is a recreation of an older army that I collected when I was a kid. So it's nostalgia coming back to bite me in the ass even more. This is part 1 of an ongoing series called Vindictor. What is it about the Black Legion that I was drawn to? Well, it's part nostalgia and part love of the Black Legion series by ADB. I mean, I'm a 36-year-old man. I've got 2 kids, I have a wife, I have a mortgage, I have a dog. Why on earth am I still painting little miniatures? Partly it's my career, partly it's nostalgia, largely it's nostalgia. That's what's got its hook in me. That's why I think a lot of people are in this hobby. It's recurring trauma played out across these silly little miniatures. I wrote this on the outset of 9th. Please stick with me through it, it does get more positive. Okay, 40k, it's a little bit of a mystery to me. I tried modelling the Primaris, but a large part of the enjoyment of this hobby is nostalgia. I know that Primaris are just Space Marines and other guys, but they aren't. They're visually different, sleeker lines, ergonomic armour that feels like it's taken from a different franchise. It looks new and clean and supported by anti-grav technology. Technology I thought that was just completely beyond the means of the Imperium at this time. An Imperium that is crumbling, that's on its knees, that's having to equip its most elite forces with bludgeons and mauls and bolter weaponry. I can no longer use Land Raiders and Rhinos and the much lusted after Thunderhawk. I'm looking up there. I'm not looking up the sky of Thunderhawk. Well, I'm looking at the miniature Thunderhawk. Plastic Thunderhawk, please, one day, one day. The toys I grew up with are being made redundant. They're being sidelined. They're forgotten relics of a bygone age, replaced with a line of Primaris and Guilliman. The world I knew has changed. The war has changed. Does this sound like a familiar wine? Could it be coming from the mouth of a Chaos Lord at all? Okay, of course, a lot of these things have been addressed in the new edition. Space Marines can now enter drop pods and Rhinos, thank goodness, because I love the aesthetic. Jez Goodwin described it, the Space Marine range, the aesthetic is a fist. It's always that, knuckles. And while it has been taken through into the Primaris and the anti-grav weaponry things that they have, I still love almost like the World War II industrial feel of the Space Marines. I love the universe, how backward looking it is, how it's a crumbling edifice of a once glorious empire. So the Black Legion's wine, the Black Legion's refrain of being warriors of a bygone era, me, having built an empire with their sweat and blood and bullets. I built Games Workshop. For people like me, fans like me, we helped build this company. I helped build this company. With blood and bolters, with money. I paid a lot of money for this stuff. I helped build this empire that you now squat fat in and you can enjoy. It did strike a chord with me. Of course, that's so entitled and it's completely delusional. They don't owe me a damn thing. But it's the same way a Space Marine, a Chaos Space Marine thinks, a Renegade Space Marine thinks. I helped build this empire. Where's my payday? What is in it for me? So I guess I'm channeling this angst into this force. I'm redirecting all this frustration into buying more Games Workshop product. Oh boy, they showed me. I mean, everyone in this universe is entitled and delusional to a certain degree, right? That's what makes it fun. Everybody has their own unique point of view and everybody is partly wrong. Old Hammer. I bought this army back in the early noughties for around 80 quid. It's quite a bit of money for teenage me, and I bought it from a friend. And this army's always had that special feel because it's a product of our shared friendship. He bought it, he painted it, he sold it to me, and I added to it. I redesigned a couple of things, I painted new bases on them, and And it just felt all the more special for it. This is the glory, the Hylicon days of 3.5. You could ask any boomer about it. Anybody who's around for Chaos 3.5 will talk about that as the best Chaos Codex that's ever been written by Mr. Pete Haynes and the design crew. But Mr. Pete Haynes, thank you so much for that. Wonderful memories I had at that time. Black Legion novels. Oh, this series gets better every time you read it. Every single time you read it. Because you can read it with slightly different agendas every single time. One, you just read it as a straight up narrative. It's a good book. Both of them are really good books. Up there. They're both very compelling reads. As an aside, before we get into this, Kion, does anybody else find him kind of an annoying character? How he is this moralistic high point, how he is the only one to object to Ahriman's rubric, how he's the only one to object to the White Seer sacrifice, how he can seemingly alone divine Moriana's true purpose. He's Tizcan, so well done. I mean, ADB has managed to capture that self-righteousness and superior knowledge in the tone perfectly, because he is a really annoying character, like every Tizcan is. You could also read the series as a historical document, the founding myths of the Black Legion, how in the first book they got the band together, how Abaddon bound old legions, disparate war bands, fighting really for survival, and then they gave them an ideal to strive towards. The principle of Vindicta, the principle of casting aside the old colours of the old legions, cast aside the failures of their fathers who made them in their image, and self-actuating themselves as their own principal heroes in this drama. The self-actualization, giving them the wars, like this could be yours, this is your war, it's not their war. You're not fighting for a principle that they devise, you're fighting for yourself. We're fighting for ourselves, finally. I think that's a cool idea, to bind disparate and very headstrong warbands together. So Abaddon isn't just the best at fighting, he isn't the best at killing. He is an inspirational leader with a vision that he's able to articulate and argue with other legionnaires and direct towards a singular purpose. In the second book you see his first crusade, retroactively dubbed it a crusade. How he had challenges within iSpace, how he overcame those challenges, and you start to see the shrewdness of the character come through. This might be Abaddon at the apex of his powers, before it's later alluded to that the powers of the warp pressing on him so aggressively that he might be turning mad. So you can read the book in that manner. Another way you can read it is sort of in a meta way, where ADB dispels a lot of, I guess, meme culture that surrounds Abaddon and the Black Legion. Armless Abaddon, the failures of the Crusades. Okay, I mean, he's managed to bind disparate warbands that I hate the Sons of Horus at this time. He has recast them into another legion. He's given them an ideal to fight towards, and he's launched successful raids into real space, and ultimately cracked Cadia because of it, and split the universe in two. If only we could all be so armless and unsuccessful in our lives. Not that I'm saying we should commit mass genocide on that kind of scale, no, but he is a creature with a vision that he's able to articulate and then actuate. And you've got to respect that. And Abaddon as a character as well. I think of all the characters in 40k or Warhammer literature, he is one of my favourites, because he has this ability to change. First he was the warlord in the Sons of Horus, then he was the first captain, he became a wanderer, a pilgrim, and then he took on the role of a war master, later on, of a warlord supreme. He has this ability within his character to change, and the older you get, the harder it is to change. Believe me, once you become set in your ways, once you become comfortable in your routine, it is so hard to change. So Abaddon being able to display that trait, I think it is his biggest trait, let alone being able to split the universe in half, let alone being able to kill things with Drachnine, or having a really cool Talon of Horus, be able to slice through land raiders or what have you. His biggest, strongest attribute is his ability to change. Okay, collecting an army is going to be a bit unusual because I haven't collected an army in 10 years of 40k. I don't really know where to start with it. I haven't spent the better part of a decade developing heresy armies. I have a very clear footing with what to do with an army there. But with 40k, absolutely no idea. And this army is a way to use all my leftover bits from armies from previous commissions. And I have a surprising amount of Terminator legs left over. And this dovetailed very nicely into what I want to do with true scaling. I really want to do a true scale force. I have forever, because I feel like true scaling gives you a bigger canvas to build on, and it allows you to almost see Space Marines in HD. You can see the individual tangles of wire cabling. You can see it gives you a bigger area, a bigger canvas to deal with, so you can hyper detail your miniatures if you really want to. And Forge World's legs are already very, very highly detailed. So to pair the detail of the legs with the torso, we've printed out custom torsos. These are from the Forges of Xeon, and we've used our own in-house printing service. If you'd like some made, please get in touch. You will need to buy the file from the Forges of Xeon, send it to us so we can print it out in ultra high definition 8K quality. It's what I use for box art for companies who send me STLs, so it's only their very highest quality that we use. By print out, well, we had a load of these chests printed out for Sons of Horus Force I was painting, but they came out slightly too large, but they were perfect for this project. Great. I didn't know it at the time, stored them away, and they come out here. And they pair really nicely. They're perfectly scaled for Terminator legs. Now, I do realise this, if you want to follow along, you don't have to go out and buy 100 different legs. The modern Chaos Space Marine set is really good. And they're pretty much the same scale as these Marines anyway, so you don't really need to do like a terrific amount of rescaling. It's just this project gave me an opportunity to collect a 40k army and do it in true scale. So they kind of came together. What's that David Brent thing? Wish I had a little beard. I should grow a little beard. My wife would love that. Yeah, dovetail together nicely. Oh, the structure of the force. Now this is where things started to unravel pretty quickly, because I have no idea where exactly or how to create a 40k army. I was at the Adepticon preview and they talked about combat patrol, and this is when my ears started to prick up, because my lizard brain has a hard time keeping up with new changes. Again, that ability to change, I don't have it as well as Abaddon. 9th edition, 10th edition, I need a couple of games to get into it. If I read a rule, I don't really understand it. If I play it, I'll understand it a lot better. I'm one of those sort of learners. So I need to play a few games to get a handle of what I want to create with the force, but I have this burning desire to just collect a force straight away. What do I do with all this? Well, combat patrol. Adepticon, they talk about combat patrol. You buy combat patrol, and then you can play this against other combat patrols. Great! It gives me a starting point. It gives me a very definitive idea. If you collect this, you can play it. Great, that's all I need. I'm not much of a player, I'm much more of a collector, I'm much more of a modeler and painter. Great, this gives me my way in. So this Black Legion force will be themed around the Combat Patrol box set for the Chaos Space Marines. If it changes, I'll simply change things out. I'll chop things up, I'll chop things around. I play in very casual environments anyway, so chopping and changing won't be an issue with the group that I play with. And that's part one. That is part one, the overview, the introduction, the initial line of thinking that goes into any army that I create. All the little hodgepodge ideas that you come up with on your own, in your own workspace, not talking to anybody on hours on end. It's nice to get these thoughts out, bleed them out, so to speak, like bleed the pus out of the boil onto YouTube. If you like lancing boils, mental boils, please feel free to subscribe. Currently we are giving away a box of Leviathan for anybody who subscribes to our YouTube, so make sure that you do so. If you would like to follow along with this project, we are doing full tutorials, full overviews on the Patreon. So how to convert them up, how to model them, how to use green stuff to create any gaps, and we go into much more depth in the characters of the pieces, who they are, how their backstory is translated onto the miniature, and then how that translates onto the paint job itself. So if you would like to learn much more about theming an army, developing a process for yourself, and executing it, please feel free to join up for $15 per month. There's no minimum contract. Just try it once, $15, give it a whirl, why not? If you do want a free trial, this is a new thing on Patreon, 7 days we're giving away free trial under the $10 pledge. You can also find us on Instagram, Twitter, all the social medias, but please, I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe to our YouTube. We're trying to make a concerted effort to grow this and make more content for you guys and gals and community, everybody out there, the 15 people who will watch this. I appreciate you 15 people more than anything else in this universe, including my wife. Not my children, my dog. I love my children, my dog. Oh, that's a terrible way to sign off. Okay, Vindicta.